So for that, I'm going to remove this and make use of response object. And once you get everything in response, once you create a response object, you get everything. Like you can get status code, you can get body, right? And you can get headers also. Okay, everything is available with that response. So we're gonna make use of this to make it more readable. But before that, we need to supply this and move it towards here. Now make use of actions class. First of all, let's create a action class. Let's say verify status code. Let me see some chat. What are they? If we have lot of data in payload, then we can use JSON files. So that's why I said there are different ways to do it. JSON file you can use and then modify only certain data which are needed for uniqueness part. Okay, but this is the way to do it. Now you can either modify certain parts of the data or do it some part of the data. So in our case also, we just need to create name. I think only name and description are valid. Nothing else is required. So you can just remove all this. So it would be not time consuming if you know which part of data is unique. Again, we can use JSON files, we can use maps. There are multiple ways, but DTOs can help you to manage any kind of. If more data like 150 more 50 plus fields, then I would suggest JSON file. But then JSON file, convert that JSON file into a map to modify certain data. Okay, we'll take this in Q&A. I think we are almost done. Let's create assert action completion. So here, let's get the response object, right? So that we can verify assert equals, we can verify res dot get status code is $200, 201 for creation, right? Okay, so this part is done. Now we can easily use our assert action. For that, again, we have to create a assert action class object in base test. And we don't need this. Right, I think everything is done. Static is not added. Similarly, we need API action to get data from, because we need JSON path, right? We were using JSON path there. So for that, we will use generics, which we discuss in best practices. Get data from JSON path, right? And this requires response object. and we also require the JSON path. Once that is done, we need to return the JSON path. For that, we will have JSON path class, JSON path, r dot JSON path and return jpath dot get, and here I would supply the JSON string. Sorry guys, because slide coding will take taking some time, but I think we are mostly done. Now, what we need to, so we verified the status code. Now let's verify the body. So for that, I need assert action string verification here. And here I would use string kind of thing. We need description because status code is clear, but in body part, sometimes we will, so we need to know which field we are verifying. So for that, I'm adding a description also. And now we can verify assert action dot verify uh, and in here we need to create an object for API actions also. So this is kind of object repository we are making, just like in page object model we were making object repository for page objects. Here we create page repository in Restassured for payloads and keywords. API actions, API actions. And I think we are mostly done. Apart from data util, I think everything is covered with this. So we need to get data API action, API action dot get data from JSON path, supply response, JSON path as name, and verify this that this name is equal to the name which we are supplying here, right? Okay, since the response of this is unknown at that time, it is known at the runtime when we get the response. For now, we are saving the name response name is equal to okay. So I think we're mostly done, and this is how you can change your code in something like that, right? So I think every part of the code has been modified apart from data utils. I think data utils code is not written. Let's complete that also so that end-to-end framework is finished. Then I can share everything with you guys. Yes, I'm gonna do that once it is created and everything is done. Okay, so the final thing is Philo library. For Philo, just go for Philo, and you on the front page itself you will find the code to read anything from Excel file. This is the code to read anything from Excel file. You just need to give the Excel file path, and you can extract data based on ID. So whatever is your ID, which is your name in row, and then value is in. So just copy this and make some changes based on our requirement, right? So public static. So I would create a data util get data from Excel. Let's say what get data from test data. The return would be string, and get data from test data file, something like that, right? And our parameter would be sheet name because this is an Excel, so we need a sheet name. So string sheet name, right? And string ID. ID is basically to give the uniqueness for the data which you want to extract, and string field, which field you want to extract. If there are, because one row has multiple columns, right? So which field you need to extract. Once that is done, just copy paste that code and make changes. Make sure you select the Philo libraries only in import. Surrounds always surround this code in try catch. Okay, and make changes based on this because we need to change this name to sheet name. So for that we will use this sheet name, right? And then plus again appender ID. We need to change the ID to the ID which we want. Let's where ID is equal to. So this works on SQL. So when you write SQL query, we write in single quotes and then provide the data, right? So for that, we will provide our ID. I think mostly done. Single quotes plus ID plus single quotes and yes. And get field data. This is basically the field name. And this would be not system.output. This would be our result. And at the end of this, we want to return our result. Okay, so this is how you can read data. So here I will provide the sheet name, the field which I want to extract data from, and the column name. And based on that, I can fetch any data. So I can show you the example where we were extracting using base test, base URL, right? This was again a constant. These two values are again constant, sorry, hard coded right now. So for that, I will create an Excel file. Uh, let's use the Excel file of other projects. I don't have it. Or do you have a sheet? Got it. So this would be, let's say, I would create an empty spreadsheet.
Yeah. So it mostly contain ID and
Yeah, yeah.
value, base URL. Yeah.
So let's now name this Restassured, right? Or GitHub, GitHub repo, and ID and value. Okay, it could be anything. This can change. Okay, because you have to parameterize these two value can change. And this field value is value where, let's say, you have different values. So if you want to use as a data parameterization, you can use it. Data provider also have a different values and then provide different values under that, and use for loop to insert data at runtime. So let's use it for base path. And token, right? Replace this base path and token. I think within 5 minutes it will be done. This once this is done, save as. Where is my repo? Backend. F backend. Save as. F backend sources. Save as test data, right? Okay, so file is created, data is inserted. Now we need to change code in data utils to provide the path, right? This is the path. So now make it system independent and platform independent. We use system variables, system dot get user. System dot, what is the file? Get property user dot dir. Okay, to get the user directory, and then file file dot part separator. This is system dependent part separator character. So the path of this resources file is, if you refresh this, you would see test data resources, like this is user directory, under that resources, under that test data.exe. So user dir slash path slash resources slash test data Excellent, 6, right? Okay, I think this is done. XLXX. You need to make sure that you are not using this file while extracting data. Otherwise, it can cause issue. Okay. Now we need to add this code in our base test. Replace this with data utils. Get data from Excel file. The sheet name is GitHub repo. ID is base URL. And the field is value. Similarly, we need to change the value of authorization token. And this time it would be token, right? So I think everything is done in this framework. I will pause this here to verify that the code is working. Let's see. There are some configuration issue. Base URI cannot be null. I think there's something wrong while extracting the data. Backend, I think path was wrong. Wait. Data util slash backend slash resources slash path separator. Okay, let's try this again. No records found. File is being readed, but nothing is found. Let's see if the file data is actually correct.
You
GitHub
have used base URI.
URI. Okay.
Yeah.
Base URL actually. Yes, correct. Okay, let's try. Okay, so I think everything is fine. The name is name coming is wrong because now we have created name here and there also in request payload, I guess, right? Yeah. So for that, I will create a public getter and setter. Get repo name. right? And now I'll come back here and use the request payload. Set repo name as final repo. And in verification, I would verify response name with request payload dot get. I think this should work. Let's try. New name. What happened? Set name, get name.
Can you, yeah, don't set the username here. You are setting it here. Just in the GitHub repo object after this. Repo.set name, don't set it.
Reported set name.
23rd line, just remove them. 23rd.
Oh, here again. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just remove this. You don't need to use
it now. Actually, this is needed, but not like this way. We have to get repo.
You can use the above method.
Yeah. Now it should work. Okay. So everything is added in the framework level. Everything is set up. The final pitch is basically Allure report, right?